You are listening to the On Purpose Podcast. Welcome, everybody, to episode 189 of the On Purpose Podcast, and welcome to 2023. I hope you had a great holiday season, and you're excited and fired up to be making 2023 one of your best years yet. I am humbled and grateful to be here with you again as we go into year 4 of delivering purposeful content and trying to fulfill our goal of becoming one of the most impactful podcasts in the world. So this week we're going to, it's just a solo episode. We're going to talk about trying to frame some of our decision making in 2023 through choosing our lens. But before we dive into this episode, I want to promote and encourage you all to pay your bill a little bit. Pay it forward through liking, subscribing, sharing this podcast if you're getting value from it, and to consider joining us on Patreon, where your financial contributions help move us forward in the world and help us continue to grow this purposeful community around the world. Memberships range from $2 to $50 a month. There's a bunch of little perks to it, and most importantly, you get the pride and self-satisfaction of knowing that your money's going to a worthwhile cause and helping brighten somebody's day around the world by sharing our messages. So join us over at patreon.com/the On Purpose Podcast. All right, let's get to episode 189. And I want to share how this came about. I recently turned 50, which is like a milestone birthday because it used to seem so old to me. And now that I'm here, I'm like, no, it's still fairly young. At least that's what I tell myself. And on my birthday, I was actually out doing yoga and meditating. And I was just thinking of what do I want to focus on for this next year? What can I do to better myself and better my world? And the one word that kept coming up was love. I just kept feeling it as I was meditating and stretching and just looking at the mountains. We're out in the desert, so I was just feeling that desert air, and love just kept coming back. And I was thinking, okay, what is it about love that would make me better? What is it if I could love more and we could love more? How would that impact our world? And I started thinking of, okay, when I think of the word love, what comes to mind for me? And I was thinking like happiness and success and learning and growing, and community brings me love, and light. I feel like when I'm in a space of love, I'm light. I'm light on my toes. My energy's light. I'm fun to be around. And I was thinking the people that I know that live most of their lives in a space of love are the people I want to be around. They're the ones I want in my community. And you just feel good being around them, right? Like it's, you leave and like, oh, that was a great conversation. That was just a good time to be somewhere. And I was like, okay, so if I'm going to focus on love, then what would it be if I'm not in love? How do I become aware of when I've drifted to a different energy or a place that isn't love? And what would that place be called? And I just kept sitting and thinking about it. I was like, okay, well, it's pretty much the opposite. And that is when I'm living in fear. And I thought, when I think of the word fear, what do I think of? And I think of failure, judgment, not being good enough, maybe pain, maybe suffering. When I think of fear, I know that, okay, I make decisions based on comfort over growth. And as I analyzed that, and I was just thinking between love and fear, I noticed that none of the feelings, none of the emotions, none of the attributes I associated with either were concrete or physical things. Meaning I wasn't afraid of a pit of snakes. I wasn't afraid of sharks. What I was afraid of was judgment and failing and not being good enough, which are all not tangible things, right? I can't reach out and grab them. That means they only exist in my mind. They exist in my body. And the beautiful thing about that, the beautiful thing about controlling my emotions, thoughts, and truths that I tell myself is that I can change them at any time. I don't need a lot of additional resources. Whether it's in my self-talk, if I'm talking to myself out of love or fear, I'm talking to my partner or my spouse out of love or fear, my children, the stranger I met, I can choose which lens I want to see the relationship, which lens I want to give advice from, which lens I want to show up in. So how do we become aware of that? How do I know? Well, I think you check in with yourself. Is your body language loving or fearful? Am I open to receiving and listening, or am I sitting with my arms crossed, legs crossed, judging, just waiting to get out of the moment? Are my words optimistic and full of belief and possibility? Or are they all the reasons why things can't happen, the only ifs and the unfairs of the world? Right? Because I truly believe all of our decisions can come back to asking ourselves, are we showing up in love or fear? This problem I'm faced with today, whatever the problem is, am I looking at it through love, where I'm seeing possibility and growth and learning? Or am I looking at it through fear, where I'm seeing the obstacles and the hurdles and the why I can't? And if we take ownership of showing up and choosing our lens, well, now we start to shift our world. We start to shift the world of the people we're interacting with. So I did an exercise with my family and my children on my 50th birthday, and I had them write down in their own words how they describe fear. And then I had them share it with the group. And then I had them write down love, how they describe love, and share it with the group. And it was universal that everybody identified emotions with love and fear, just like we talked about. So I had them write down the biggest problem they're facing and ask them, what does that problem look like through each of the lenses? You see, we cannot rid ourselves of challenges, problems, or obstacles in life. Matter of fact, they're there to help us if we see them in that light. If we look at them through our lens of love, I see the good in my obstacles, the good in my problems. I see that today's problem was once yesterday's dream, but I've forgotten about it. Conversely, if I only want to look through fear, I get paralyzed. I can stay put. I can miss the joy of the people around me and the opportunity to broaden my circle through solving a problem, attacking the problem, learning my way through it. And I truly believe we're 100% in control of how we choose to see these. Right? Craig DiMartino, way back in, episode mid-50s somewhere, talked about your life is made up of circumstances, and your response is 100% your response. Your response to those circumstances is 100% your choice. Right? And I think if we go into 2023 and ask ourselves, okay, I want to show up for myself, how I talk to myself, how I view myself, how I let myself live through a lens of love, we can make that choice. We can also say, I want to show up for my family with an air of love, not fear. We can acknowledge that fear can creep in. We can acknowledge that fear is necessary at times. But then we can also practice accountability and asking ourselves, wait a second, am I showing up in love or fear right now? and then shift gears. So I hope your 2023 is off to a good start. I want to challenge you to do that exercise. Write down your biggest problem that you're facing today and ask yourself, are you looking at it through love or fear? And what does it look like through each of the lenses? And then start practicing accountability to identify how are you showing up in this moment. Is this lovable Jerrod or fearful Jerrod? And see if we can't start making positive changes daily, not only in how we talk to ourselves, but how we interact with all those around us, based on being cognizant and accountable to which lens we show up in. Have an awesome week, everybody.
And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.